started. So thank you very much.
I'm going to ask Todd.
All right, good evening and welcome. Tonight is June 24th. This is City of Xenia City Council meeting. At this time, we will have an invocation by Pastor Todd Martin from Liberty Worship Center. He is here with us tonight, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, led by the Vice President. If you could all please rise.
Let's all bow our heads. Father, we just thank you so much for this opportunity to serve you. And Lord, I just pray over this council meeting, Lord, that you would give everyone that's involved wisdom and discernment in the business of our city. Lord, I thank you so much for everyone in this city. And I thank you for what you are doing. I pray for unity among all of us, and I pray that you will give us strength during this time. Bless these moments, and we're just so appreciative of you. In Jesus' name, amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you very much, Pastor Martin. Thank you, Vice President Dean, for the Pledge of Allegiance. At this time, I will call our meeting to order and ask for a roll call, please.
Vice President Dean.
Here.
Councilman Scrivens. Councilwoman Dean.
Here.
Councilman Branham.
Here.
Councilman Urschel.
Here.
Mayor Mays. President Smith.
Here.
I'd like to ask us to formally excuse the Mayor Mays. She'd contacted, I believe, our chair before the meeting, but she's at a church camp this week as a counselor, and she felt it was just important to go and be part of the activities in these kids' lives this week. So she asked us if we would forgive her for being here tonight.
Thank you, Councilman Urschel. We have a motion on the floor to excuse the mayor from tonight's meeting. Do we have a second on that?
I'll second that.
Seconded by Councilwoman Dean. Any further discussion? All right, seeing none, roll call to excuse, please.
Vice President Dean.
Aye.
Councilman Scrivens. Aye. Councilwoman Dean.
Aye.
Councilman Branham.
Aye.
Councilman Urschel.
Aye.
President Smith.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much. Next on the agenda is the approval of minutes from the June 10th, 2021 regular meeting. At this time, I will entertain a motion to accept the minutes.
So moved.
Moved by Councilwoman Dean. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Seconded by Councilman Branham. Any discussion, additions, or corrections to the minutes? All right, seeing none, can I get a roll call to accept the minutes, please?
Vice President Dean.
Aye.
Councilman Scrivens. Aye. Councilwoman Dean.
Aye.
Councilman Branham. Aye. Councilman Urschel.
Aye.
President Smith.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much. We have no special presentation scheduled for this evening. Moving on to audience comments. This is the opportunity in the meeting for the public to submit their comments to the council by stepping up to the podium, giving us your name and address for the record, limiting your comments to 3 to 4 minutes, please. All right. Seeing no one coming forward, we're going to move on to old business. Our first item is ordinance 2021-14. As a second reading, this is accepting the annexation of 24.54 acres of land in Xenia Township to the city of Xenia, Ohio. This was introduced by Councilman Urschel at our previous meeting.
I'd like that. Go ahead and introduce this ordinance again to the council.
Thank you. Move for passage. Do we have a second?
A second.
Seconded by Councilman Scrivens. Any discussion regarding ordinance 2021-14? Yes.
Mr. President, just one comment. I wanted to be transparent with council. We had been asked as staff to work on these different annexation issues and so forth. to contact the township ahead of time. We had drafted a letter on this that was reviewed by myself and the planning department with the intent that that be sent to the township administrator. It was discovered today, actually, that may not have been delivered.
Oh, okay.
So we emailed that along today with our apologies and some explanation. But I want to let you know we had done that. It just somewhere in the transmission process had failed, so we were trying to correct that today.
All right, thank you very much.
Great.
Any other discussion regarding this ordinance?
Brian, I did have a chance to talk that over a couple of times with the township administrator, so.
He was aware at least.
Yeah, they felt well informed
Okay,
on this,
thank
and I think they mentioned it in one of their towns, but not the last, but the one before that in the township meeting, so I don't think there's any problems there with us, yeah. And the other thing, I know we're going to be looking at the rezoning on this, but I think this is going to be a great opportunity for that center that's in great shape right now to actually get occupied and start being productive there on the edge of town as well, too, so. Yeah, I hope that this can pass with us tonight.
All right, thank you very much. Any other discussion? If not, roll call, please.
Vice President Dean.
Aye.
Councilman Scrivens.
Aye.
Councilwoman Dean.
Aye.
Councilman Branham.
Aye.
Councilman Urschel.
Aye.
President Smith.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much. Before we move on, I actually need to backtrack, and I'm so sorry. Under audience comments, Ms. Johnson, do we have any public emails? No. Okay, thank you very much. All right, so our next item is Resolution 2021-letter Y. This is a second reading. This is providing for assessments to be levied and authorizing the finance director to certify those assessments to the Greene County auditor. This was introduced by the mayor at our previous meeting. In her absence, I will introduce. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Councilman Scriven, or I'm sorry, Councilman Urschel. Any discussion regarding Resolution 2021-Y? Nope. All right, can we get a roll call, please?
Vice President Dean.
Aye.
Councilman Scrivens.
Aye.
Councilwoman Dean.
Aye.
Councilman Branham.
Aye.
Councilman Urschel.
Aye.
President Smith.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much. Next on our agenda is public hearing. Our first is ordinance 2021-15 as a second reading. This is amending the official zoning map of the city of Xenia to establish an I-1 light industrial district as a zoning district for two newly annexed parcels, which total 18.49 acres. This is including 855 Lower Bellbrick Road and a Greene County parcel listed as M36000020023 0000500. This was introduced by Councilman Branham at our previous meeting.
I'd like to move for passage.
Thank you. Move for passage by Councilman Branham. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Councilman Urschel. All right. At this time, I will open the public hearing and ask for anyone who would like to speak in favor of amending this official zoning map to please come to the podium. State your name, address for the record. Limit your comments 3 to 4 minutes, please. All right. At this time, I would ask anyone against amending the official zoning map to please come to the podium, state your name and address for the record. Limit your comments 3 to 4 minutes. And seeing no one has come forward, at this time I will close the public hearing and open the floor for any discussion from my colleagues. All right, and at this time I will ask for a vote, please.
Vice President Dean.
Aye.
Councilman Scrivens.
Aye.
Councilwoman Dean.
Aye.
Councilman Branham.
Aye.
Councilman Urschel.
Aye.
President Smith.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much. Our next public hearing is Resolution 2021-letter Z. This is an introduction. This is approving the estate of Charles W. Strasburg's renewal application for placement of 32.654 acres located at 817 Upper Bellbrick Road in a CAUB, agricultural district.
Current agricultural use valuation.
Thank you very much. All right. All right, and at this time, I will ask for an introduction.
I'd like to introduce this.
Thank you. Introduced by Councilman Branham, and we are opening up the public hearing. Is that correct, Madam Law Director? we would need to open a public hearing on
You
this.
can either have the staff report first or the public hearing first.
Okay, I think at this time I'd like to ask for the staff report, please.
Sure. So, Mr. President, this resolution approves the renewal application filed by the estate of Charles W. Strasburg to keep the 32.654 acres of farmland at 817 Upper Bellbrick Road in the current agricultural use value program. For property tax purposes, farmland devoted exclusively to commercial agricultural may be valued according to its current use rather than its highest and best potential use. This normally results in a substantially lower tax bill for working farmers. To qualify for the CAUV, the land must be either 10 or more acres devoted exclusively to commercial agricultural use, or if it's under 10 acres devoted exclusively to commercial agricultural use, the farm must produce an average yearly gross of $2,500. Council's approval is required under ORC 92902, and the council must hold a public hearing on the proposed renewal. Therefore, city staff requests the public hearing be held on June 24th, 2021. It is the recommendation of city staff that council pass this resolution upon its second reading on July 8th, 2021.
Thank you very much. All right, at this, Mr. Laker, appreciate that. So at this time, I will open the public hearing regarding Resolution 2021-Z and ask if anyone in the audience would care to come forward to speak in favor of approving this renewal application. State your name and address for the record. Limit your comments 3 to 4 minutes, please.
My name is Ross Apple. My address is 805 Upper Bellbrick Road. I am the stepson of Charles Strasburg. I will be the owner of this property. It's been in agricultural use as long as we've had it. I intend to continue that, so I would like to obviously continue the CAUV tax rollback.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Apple. Appreciate that. If anyone else would care to come forward in approval of this renewal application, if you could, please come to the podium at this time. All right. At this time, anyone against approving the renewal application may come to the podium at this time. Give us your name and address for the record. And see no one come forward. I will close the public hearing regarding this resolution. And we have our motion to our introduction as
Just
well.
an introduction. We typically do schedule your public hearings on the second reading. However, state statute requires that the public hearing be held within 30 days of our receipt of the
Very good.
application.
Okay.
So your second reading wouldn't have been within that 30 days, so we had to schedule it for the first reading.
Thank you. At this time, any of my colleagues have any comments or concerns regarding this?
Well, it seems that we're satisfying ORC 929.02, and Mr. Apple wants to continue on. I don't see any reason why we should not approve it.
Thank you very much.
I think there's a real critical issue for people who are actually farming in farmlands. And once again, to allow them to be, the valuation of the land be based upon what you're producing and your income you're actually getting, because otherwise, with the price of land, if it was valued at the sales price or potential sales price, it would just put a lot of farmers out of business to the point where they wouldn't have the income to pay the taxes and they would have to sell at that point. So, I'm hoping as we go back into our second reading of this that we can approve this. This is a common practice all across the townships here in the county, and there's no reason we shouldn't be doing this with the land that's within the city.
All right, thank you very much. Mr. Apple, thank you for being here tonight. At this time, I will close the public hearing and move on. Our next item of new business is Ordinance 2021-16, an introduction. This is accepting the annexation of 2.29 acres of land at 800 Hedges Road in Xenia Township to the city of Xenia. Mr. City Manager.
Thank you, sir. The Greene County Commission has approved the petition from the property owner for the annexation of 800 Hedges Road from the township to the city. Pursuant to ORC 709.04, City Council has 120 days from this point to either accept or reject the annexation. Council's previously approved resolutions providing for the statement of services as well as the statement regarding zoning buffers in compliance with ORC requirements. It is noted that the applicant is seeking conditional use approval from Planning and Zoning Commission at the Commission's July 1st meeting to utilize 2 existing yurts and a camper as a campground for transient guests through an Airbnb service arrangement. Campgrounds are allowed in our zoning code as a conditional use in A1 agricultural districts. This happens to be the automatic zoning assignment that the site would receive upon acceptance of the annexation. Staff sees no concerns with the zoning or the conditional use for these services. Should Planning and Zoning approve the conditional use, it would be conditioned upon City Council's acceptance of the annexation after your second reading. As articulated previously, staff is supportive of this minor annexation. We think Council should introduce this evening and ultimately approve Ordinance 2021-16 to facilitate it.
All right, thank you, Mr. City Manager. Anyone have any questions for Mr. Merriman at this time?
So, obviously, this ordinance is just for annexation into the city, but then for the planned use, will they have to go to planning and zoning and get approval for the conditional use, or is that automatic within the A1?
It's scheduled for the July 1st meeting, so if it's approved by Planning and Zoning, that approval then will be conditional upon your ultimate annexation. But if the annexation is approved, then that conditional use would be allowed.
Right, but that's also a vote with planning and zoning, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Mr. President.
Yes, Councilman Scruton.
Also, the property in question, the subject property is surrounded by all city-owned properties, so should be no reason why we shouldn't approve it.
Yeah, it's a fairly undeveloped area, fairly agricultural in nature, so.
So, talking to the township folks, there seemed to be some contention, not only within their own zoning, but maybe potentially some of the neighbors too. So I would assume if there's any issues with the neighbors, they would need to come to planning and zoning and discuss that at that point. Is that?
Yeah, I'd invite the city planner. Brian, do you have any other comments, or I pretty much covered it?
Will we notify them of that potential conditional use prior to that coming to that meeting?
We're required to send notices out to adjacent property owners.
Okay.
So, and also publish it on our website and in our lobby, so.
Can't hear you.
Excuse me, I have a frog in my throat. We are required to mail public hearing notices to adjacent property owners in this case, and also publish it on our website and in our lobby. So, so that's who we send it to.
Right,
It's open,
okay.
but it is a public meeting open to anyone who wants to come and speak.
Okay, yeah, and I'm not representing whether there was or was not issues, but that would be their forum to address that if they wanted to, correct?
Sure.
Okay.
All right, thank you, Mr. Forshner. Thank you, Mr. Merriman. At this time, I will invite any of my colleagues to introduce this. Introduced by Councilman Scrivens. Thank you. Our next item is Resolution 2021-AA, titled an emergency. This is authorizing the submittal of an application to OPWC's State Capital Improvement and the Local Transportation Improvement Program, and the execution of any required contracts for the program year of 2022. Bellbrick Avenue, Colorado Drive to the West Corporation Limits Improvement Project, and declaring an emergency. Mr. Merriman.
Thank you, sir. As indicated, around 36 applications for state-issued 2 funds are now being accepted by the Ohio Public Works Commission. We've evaluated options, and our engineering staff is recommending application to request funding for rehabilitation of Bellbrick Avenue. This would be from Colorado Drive to the West Corporation Limit. These funds would be paired with funding we will request through a separate program with MVRPC. And if awarded for both, we would be able to finish rehab of Bellbrick Avenue in its entirety, which has been a project we've been incrementally working on over the last few years. Staff is including in the application funding for installation of a radar detection system on the traffic signal at Colorado and Bellbrick, that intersection. This would improve the stoplight sequencing and timing to allow better traffic flow, especially during our PM peak hours. So that would really help with the traffic that gets queued there. So staff is requesting this evening that council approve this resolution as an emergency. This is another one of these situations where when we get notice, in order to do the due diligence that we have to do and meet the deadline, we do not have time for 2 readings for the resolution as our charter requires. So we are requesting that this be approved this evening as an emergency.
Thank you very much. Any questions for the city manager at this time?
Wish Mr. Berger was here, but
Yeah, I gave him a pass tonight, to be honest. He has some obligations tomorrow, and so he asked for the evening off, and I duly obliged.
We're going to be receiving a substantial amount of the state funds for this, if this goes through, is that correct?
Correct, yep. Mhm.
Like
Issue
around
two.
90% of the funds for the,
Mhm. I think it's a 90-10, yep.
right.
Thank you very much. Do I have a motion to authorize the application as an emergency?
Cody, it's Cody's neighborhood.
So moved.
Sorry.
Okay. Okay, I have a motion by Councilman Branham. Is that a second, Vice President?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Seconded by the Vice President. Any further discussion regarding this? All right, seeing none, roll call, please.
Vice President Dean.
Aye.
Councilman Scrivens.
Aye.
Councilwoman Dean.
Aye.
Councilman Brown.
Aye.
Councilman Urschel.
Aye.
President Smith.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much. Before we go on, I'm sorry, I did not have an opportunity to catch up on emails. Do we have that sale of property tonight on Louise Drive?
How do we send it?
Where is that at? It's not on the agenda.
Oh, it's not on the agenda tonight. though.
No, I think we are,
I think it's our next one.
yeah, I think we're going to approach it as an emergency at the next meeting in order to meet their
Oh,
deadline.
at the next meeting, I thought we were doing that tonight.
Yeah, it's just FYI.
Okay, got it. Okay, thank you very much. I misread that. Okay, so moving on. Resolution 2021-BB is an introduction. This is adopting the 2022 tax budget for the city of Xenia, authorizing the finance director to submit that to the Greene County auditor. Mr. Merriman.
Thank you. An annual benchmark for council in June is consideration of a tax budget for the ensuing fiscal year. This year, like last year, requirements for tax budget submittal to the Greene County Budget Commission have been waived as entities continue to manage the fallout from the pandemic. However, the administrative leadership with the city, again this year, like last year, we have gone through the normal procedures that we go through, put together the tax budget as we typically would, and follow that because we believe, frankly, it's just a best practice. So we, this evening, are presenting the proposed 2022 tax budget for council consideration. We recommend introduction of Resolution 2021-BB to accept the tax budget. Remind our constituents that the tax budget does not authorize any particular expenditure, but rather is a blueprint for what we project the final budget for FY 2022 will be. The tax budget as presented shows all funds in positive territory. However, we would readily admit and acknowledge that evolving impacts from the pandemic and quite candidly, broad policy changes currently being pursued in Columbus could have significant impacts on our revenue sources and cash flow. And so we will have to wait through the end of the year as we get closer to our final budget in the fall to understand what those revenue implications will be. The tax budget as presented shows expenditures totaling $64,897,797.58. We remind folks that this includes projected grants, transfers, and so forth. This isn't the money we would actually spend next year, but for accounting purposes, we have to oftentimes double count things like transfers, and so that's what that total would be under that process. The proposed final budget will be presented to council no later than October 31st. Staff is currently beginning work on the 5-year CIP, which is of course due to council on October 1st, and we'll be having some upcoming budget committee meetings to begin evaluating those things later this summer. So we are recommending council introduce the resolution for consideration this evening.
Thank you very much. Any questions for our city manager?
I just have one, Mr. President.
Councilman Scrivens.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Finance Director, the 902 fund, whatever happens to that over the year period?
The unclaimed funds,
Right.
if we have requests, if taxpayers realize that they have
If they
outstanding.
can claim them, right.
Yes.
But what happens if there's no claim?
At some point in time, they can be transferred over to the general
To
fund.
the general
if we make
fund?
requests.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
From the county perspective, which they're not requiring us now, that was going to go to the Budget Commission so that they could, if we hadn't submitted this, we'd be at risk of the millage because they actually determine the property millage, is that correct? And they would utilize this then? That was my understanding, is the timing of why we, in the past, we had to submit this.
Correct. There's one aspect of the submittal for the tax budget is to set those rates
Right,
for millage. So again, those procedures are generally occurring as they normally do, even though the formal commission process is not, with all of its deadlines, is not meeting this year.
Okay, but they're not using this as an input to that process then, is that what you're saying?
I think I'm not sure I can answer that.
Okay.
From what we experienced last year, things went through as they normally would. There was no impact to that. I would anticipate the same. And we have a pretty good relationship with the county auditor who does a fantastic job, so I think if there was any change, that they would certainly be communicating that.
Okay, all right.
We certainly wouldn't want to miss out on the opportunity.
No,
to
I'm with you, I understand, right? And the critical part of that, I think, was the inside millage, and this was part of that determination, that
Highly
package,
unlikely to
right?
be moved.
That is correct, yes.
Right, okay. But they're pressing on determining the inside millage, but we don't think it'll be
I don't think it's changed in
changed. Yeah.
In
decades.
Right, okay.
No one wants to give it up, so.
Yeah, well, maybe in the future, a good question is if they're able to press on without this, why do they need it in the future? But maybe that's a question for next year.
Sure.
Yeah, so.
All right, thank you very much. At this time, I will,
Mr. President, we do need an introduction on that. I don't know if we got it. Did we get it?
no, I was asking.
Sorry, I'm just rolling over you.
Who would like to introduce?
I'll introduce it.
Thank you. Introduced by the Vice President. Our next item is an administration motion with an appointment to the vacant seat on planning and zoning. At this time, I will turn this over to Councilman Branham.
Yeah, there is one vacancy on Planning and Zoning Commission, which has been advertised on social media, websites, government channels. I had 4 individuals that expressed interest in filling the position, and I recommend Mr. Casey Boat. I know I'm going to mispronounce this. Mr. B, as he told me that his name was from being a school teacher, to fill a vacant term expiring on December 31st, 2024. His background has been processed and is satisfied with my recommendation. I recommend appointing him to Planning and Zoning Commission.
Thank you very much. We have a motion to appoint Casey Botorff to the vacant seat on planning and zoning. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Seconded by Councilwoman Dean. Any questions or concerns regarding this appointment?
I would like to mention that Casey is in the crowd this evening.
Good.
I did invite Casey out to join us because I know that council likes to see the individuals that we're appointing to our boards and commissions. I just want to say a little bit about Casey. He's newly engaged, newly first-time home buyer here in Xenia. Family has always been centered around Xenia, and looking forward to working with Casey on planning and zoning.
Yeah,
Very
great.
good. Very good. Mr. Botorff, thank you very much for being here tonight. And thank you for your willingness to serve in that capacity. We really appreciate that. Planning and zoning is one of our busier commissions, so thank you so much. So we have a motion and a second. At this time, I'll ask for a roll call, please.
Vice President Dean.
Aye.
Councilman Scrivens.
Aye.
Councilwoman Dean.
Aye.
Councilman Branham.
Aye.
Councilman Urschel.
Aye.
President Smith.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much. Our next item is an administrative motion authorizing the purchase of a brush truck chassis from Stoops Freightliner Dayton through the ODOT Cooperative Purchasing Program, and a bed brine and anti-icing system unit from Henderson Products Incorporated through the Sourcewell Purchasing Program. Mr. Merriman, would you like to explain these
Yes,
purchases?
sir, thank you. Staff is requesting an authorization to move forward with the purchase of components necessary for the replacement of our brush truck in the Public Service Department. The unit that's being replaced is a critical frontline vehicle for us. The current unit is a 2002 model. It has exceeded its useful life, is in an advanced state of disrepair. Both the CIP and budget approved by council included this item with funding for $150,000 for the replacement for this year. Staff's requesting an administrative motion tonight to allow the acquisition of the chassis from Stoops Freightliner Dayton in the amount of $82,791 and the bed brine and anti-icing system unit to be purchased from Henderson Products Incorporated in the amount of $64,476. The chassis purchase from Stoops Freightliner Dayton will be made through the ODOT purchasing program, while the purchase of the bed, brine, and de-icing system from Henderson Products Incorporated would be made through the Sourcewell purchasing program. Both these are approved competitive procurement means, so we're meeting those standards. If authorized this evening, the estimated delivery date is not until August of 2022, which is why we wanted to get this into the queue and get council's approval. We were hoping to be able to get this replacement made this year, but we're going to have to make this unit last a full another year and then some, so a full another winter season in particular. And again, it's just part of the shortages that are out there, particularly for vehicles. So staff's requesting that council give us the authorization this evening.
Thank you very much. Do we have a motion to authorize the purchase of these two items?
So moved.
Okay, moved by Councilman Scrivens. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Councilman Urschel. Thank you. Any questions, concerns regarding the purchase?
Well, at least we know in August of 2022, we'll have a new vehicle, so. A lot of lead time.
All right, at this time, I will ask for a roll call, please.
Vice President Dean.
Aye.
Councilman Scrivens.
Aye.
Councilwoman Dean.
Aye.
Councilman Branham.
Aye.
Councilman Urschel.
Aye.
President Smith.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much. Our next administrative motion is authorizing the execution of addendum number 4 to the Fire Emergency Medical Services Agreement between the City of Xenia and Central State University for a 1-year extension. Mr. Merriman, would you like to explain that?
Yes, thank you, sir. The city has provided emergency medical and fire services to Central State University since 2012. The city and university have substantially have subsequently executed extensions of this arrangement for the continuation of services for the last several years. As the agreement and service arrangement has been beneficial to both the university and the city, and the current term expires at the end of this month, we are recommending this evening that council authorize another 1-year extension of the service agreement. Upon review of the service demand and the cost for the service provision, staff believes that no increase in the contract amount is warranted at this time, so we're requesting essentially authorization to add an addendum that would just extend all the current existing conditions for the term of 1 year.
Thank you very much. At this time, we have a agreement or an administrative motion to authorize the execution of a 1-year extension. Do we have a motion to proceed?
So moved.
Moved by Councilman Scrivens. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by the Vice President. Any questions or concerns regarding this motion?
Just, Mr. President, just how did we arrive at the dollar amount?
Yeah, the original analysis, so we've been locked at this amount for a number of years, and the original analysis suggested that was the amount that would give the city enough additional revenue to make it worth our while after covering costs. What we've seen over the years is actually some decline in the transports from Central State, so it's reduced our overall service demand. So we feel that, frankly, it's fair. We're not seeing any service cost increase. As a result, we think it's appropriate to maintain the current price point.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. City Manager, because I believe they're on summer break right now. The
Correct.
campus is closed.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Thank you very much. I would think some of the volume went down last year because a lot of that was-
Considerably, yeah.
A
Let's
lot
just
of
say
that was
this contract served us
virtual.
very well last year.
Right,
Yeah, that's a
right.
great point.
But again, it seems fair. So we'll have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? At this time, I'll ask for a roll call, please.
Vice President Dean.
Aye.
Councilman Scrivens.
Aye.
Councilwoman Dean.
Aye.
Councilman Branham.
Aye.
Councilman Urschel.
Aye.
President Smith.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Our next item, administrative motion approving the schedule of bills tonight in the amount of $848,661. Mr. Lake, do you have anything to add tonight?
I'll just point out that there were a number of debt service payments on there, which might inflate the amount from what you would expect at this time of the year.
All right, thank you very much. And at this time, I will move for a motion to pay the bills. Who would like to make that?
I'll move.
Thank you. Moved by Councilman Urschel. Do we have a second? I'll second that. Any other questions or concerns regarding the schedule of bills for tonight?
So I've got one question, just because I told Ryan that I was going to ask a hard question. So on page 5 at the bottom, there's some washers there. Can you tell me what we use those washers for? No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Thanks for this.
All right, thank you. Any questions for the finance director tonight? All right. and-
Just while we're asking a question. When we have prisoners and we have to treat them medically, where are these people coming from, these emergency medical specialists? They being flown in, or who are they?
We are responsible for
That's
medical
page
treatment.
4,
Yeah.
third from the bottom, second from the bottom.
Yeah, we are responsible for, when they are in our custody and control, we are responsible to provide
care,
care. That is a statutory requirement.
and then we hand it off once we take them to the...
Once they are at Greene County Jail, then they do become the responsibility of the sheriff. Yep.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr.
Thank
President.
you. I would say $59 is probably one Band-Aid. Okay, sorry. All right. Any other questions for Mr. Lake tonight? And thank you for filling in for Mr. Duke, who is out tonight for medical. We certainly appreciate you stepping in. At this time, I ask for a roll call, please.
Vice President Dean.
Aye.
Councilman Scrivens.
Aye.
Councilwoman Dean.
Aye.
Councilman Branham.
Aye.
Councilman Urschel.
Aye.
President Smith.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much. All right, next on our agenda is appointed officials reports. So at this time, I will start with, how about the law director? Thank you.
I have one thing I need to discuss with you this evening. As you know, we filed a claim on behalf of the city. We filed it on our own, not part necessarily of the class, against Purdue Pharma as part of the Chapter 11 bankruptcy that they filed. Just a little bit of background because it's important to understand what we're dealing with here. All this arrived today. It's taken me forever to get through it all. There's a lawsuit called an MDL, MDL, multi-district litigation. A bunch of states, Ohio's in it. It was mostly state attorney generals that filed that suit. Mostly in response to that lawsuit, although currently all the lawsuits pending against Purdue Pharma amount to trillions of dollars in claims, trillions. They did not reach a settlement in the multi-district litigation. Basically, they've split into two camps. There's the consenting states and the non-consenting states. So when you get into the bankruptcy, which I filed a claim on the city's behalf, in that bankruptcy case, you have your public creditors, which is all the states, counties, local municipalities. You have two groups split in that, the ones that consented to the settlement plan in the MDL and those that didn't. And then on the other side, you have all the private creditors. That would be hospitals, insurance companies, people that were directly injured. Maybe they filed some kind of injury claim. They have come up with a settlement plan that we have to vote on. Currently, what the plan is, it's $4.5 billion in the aggregate. $4.275 billion of that comes from Purdue. The Slacker family only has to put in $225 million. But the most important part about the settlement plan is that the private creditors and the public creditors are in agreement as to how that money would be distributed, with the bulk of it coming to the public creditors. So the bulk will go to counties, states. As part of that plan as well, the ownership of Purdue Pharma will transfer to a trust that is controlled by those public creditors with a trustee. The assets, any money that is made by Purdue Pharma as it continues, will come to the public creditors. $6 million will have to be spent in what Purdue produces to produce drug recovery, anti-opiate medications to help combat the crisis. There is a group that's called the Official Committee of Unsecured Creditors, which pretty much everyone is. If you don't have a mortgage or a lien, you're an unsecured creditor. They wrote a 24-page letter in support of adopting the plan. They make very clear in this letter that the sole reason that they are promoting adoption of the plan is to get the case settled and to get money to the local jurisdictions. They state in here, and it's undisputed, the Slacker family that owned Purdue Pharma between 2008 and 2017 transferred $10 billion away from Purdue Pharma into their private accounts. It's going to be very difficult to get that back unless the Department of Justice actually goes after them for fraud. There are a number of groups that are against this plan because the Slacker family is only putting in $225 million. Now, they will be completely out of Purdue Pharma if the plan is approved. They're out of ownership. Myself, it's mixed emotions. I know the Slacker family, from the evidence, knew what they were doing. They knew what they were pushing. They transferred $10 billion away from their company because they knew what was coming. Does this hold them 100% responsible for that? It's not even close. And the Unsecured Creditors group acknowledges that. However, if this plan is not approved, then the agreement between the private creditors and the public creditors that it took them over a year to come to is off the table. And we are looking at litigation going on for years and years and years. So we have to vote I have to submit our ballot by July 14th. You can tell me tonight what you want me to do. If you want to review any of these materials, I'd be happy to send them to you. There's a lot. There's solicitation. This came with a thumb drive that has about 30 documents on it. If you're interested, probably the most important thing you could read is the plan support letter. I think I've summarized that fairly well for you without you having to tell you. I even had to get out the law dictionary on this one. There were words that I was just like, what are they talking about? To get money that we can start using that to battle what we're dealing with to help make us whole for some of the damages we've already incurred, I say we vote for the plan. I think most groups will vote for the plan. I know the state of Ohio is going to vote for the plan from the interviews I saw with Attorney General Yost. If you don't want to decide tonight, that's fine. We've got till the 14th, but I did want to bring it up tonight, and I'd be happy to email any of you this if you want to review it further before you decide how we want to vote.
So, question, I think everybody was waiting to hear, do we have any idea what kind of amount of money Xenia would receive?
If you're looking at $4.5 billion, I doubt we get the whole amount. Now, I will tell you, the claim I filed, we're claim number 143,148. I mean, that's how many claims there are in this. They had a calculator that you put in your population, your city, what county you were in. The fire department was very helpful to me, got me information, runs, overdoses, plugged all that into the calculator that they had. I filed a claim based on that for $15,972,325.
There is a God,
Will we get all of that? I doubt it.
but we'll get a third.
But some is better than none.
All right, thanks for doing your homework. At this time, I'll open the floor up for discussion on this issue. If anyone has questions for the law director at this time, please go ahead.
Mr. President?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Even though we're 143,148, we have a claimant number, and money's on the table, and we need to strike while the iron's hot.
Thank you. Other comments, concerns?
Well, thanks for, first off, getting the claim in.
Right.
Right, and getting us to be part of this process. And you're right, once this is moving forward, we're a pretty small fish in the vast ocean of things. And probably to some extent, however we vote is going to be a little bit irrelevant in the context. But we do, the good thing too is we do have a vote, right, to go forward with that. And I guess I'm with Tommy in the context that we don't have any other independent plan of our own. We don't have the ability to pursue any litigation, any means outside of this, the group of litigation that's being done. And this probably be our only chance to actually see any funds back on this. So yeah, I would encourage us to proceed with this as well, because I don't think there was a plan B.
So are you making a motion?
So I'll make a motion that we ask the law director to respond to the request for the vote on the Purdue Pharma settlement as an aye from the city.
Thank you. We have a motion on the floor to proceed with the yes vote for this settlement. Can we have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Scrivens. Any additional discussion? So what would be any other alternative? Is there any?
Well, this is a vote on the plan, so it's completely possible. I mean, every litigant, every class of litigants gets to vote on this, so it's possible it could be voted down and we're back at the table. They did have a plan in one of the appendices. If it does get passed, we'd be looking at getting money probably within the next 2 years. So it's just kind of a wait and see if it gets passed or not. There's also an objection deadline, so it could be some of the claimants. July 19th is the objection deadline. You know, even if it gets approved, if there are objections filed, that could take a while for the court to settle.
All right, thank you.
So if we get money, it's still probably going to be a couple years.
Sure. All right. Any other questions? So we have a motion and a second on the floor to move forward with filing a yes. At this time, I'll ask for a roll call, please.
Vice President Dean.
Aye.
Councilman Scrivens.
Yes.
Councilwoman Dean.
Aye.
Councilman Brown.
Aye.
Councilman Urschel.
Aye.
President Smith.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much. Any other questions or comments for the law director tonight? All right. Thank you so much.
It's the only time I ever did a case, I thought, boy, I wish I worked on retainer.
Or by the page.
All right, Ms. Fisher, thank you so much. Next, I'm going to move on to our finance director. Mr. Lake, anything else for us tonight?
I don't have anything else.
Thank you. Does anyone have anything for the finance director tonight?
I'm just pouring through Mr. President, I'm just pouring through the latest monthly report. Still reading that. I have to learn how to digest numbers. I can digest words pretty good, but numbers, it gives me a little indigestion, so.
All right, thank you. All right, thank you. You're off the hook, Mr. Lake. Last but not least, Mr. Merriman.
Thank you, sir. I have two items, and then I have just a brief presentation that I want to give to council this evening. 62 slides won't take long. No, it shouldn't take too long. First, we want to remind folks that next weekend, not this coming weekend, but the following weekend, Friday, July 2nd, will be the downtown block party and the Sunny Cab Memorial Fireworks. A couple slides here to show folks and our public and to remind council that we will have some closures downtown beginning at noon. Detroit Street will be closed from Church Street down to Main Street. The Main Street crossing will be open. Detroit will also then be closed from the south side of Main down through 3rd Street. We will have 2nd Street closed as well as Market Street. So this is pretty typical for what we've done for First Friday events in the past, so that won't be entirely new for folks. We're very excited with the downtown block party. Lots of activities that are going on. Cornhole tournament, first of its kind that we're hosting. There are a few slots available, so we encourage folks to register for that immediately. Among the other activities that we have at the block party, we will have food trucks, Jeep show along 2nd Street. Of course, the Cornhole tournament is hosted by Club X Soccer, sponsored by Jamie's Tires. We're very excited. A lot of our downtown merchants and other community businesses are sponsoring different aspects of these activities downtown. We also have activities that include backyard games. These are like large-size Jenga, full-size, body-size Jenga, things like that. Face painting and sidewalk chalk for kids. 4 Paws for Ability will be out. They will have meet and greet with some of their animals, so we appreciate them coming out to support. We'll have a Safety City course and doing a bike decorating contest and parade. for kids to enjoy. Greene County Public Health will be on hand to talk about bike safety, and the YMCA will be providing children's programming in the same space as well. Athletes in Action will be out. They will be doing various sports instructions and tutorials, have things set up downtown. We also have some of the region's Disc Golf Association folks will be coming out and demonstrating the disc golf. Of course, we have a course. Of course, there is a course over at the Saul Arnovitz Reserve. So lots of activities downtown. Many of our downtown merchants will have some sidewalk sales that Friday. Things will begin in the afternoon on Friday and conclude about 7 p.m. And then activities will transition down to Shawnee Park. We will have a second group of food trucks down at the park to service customers in the evening. We will have live entertainment down at the park, including Band of Flight. We're very, very pleased to have them, as well as some other entertainment acts. I'm really, really pleased. We're decking the halls out for this event, making it more spangly than it typically would be. So look for some decorations downtown as well as at the park in recognition of this event and in celebration of our independence. So we encourage folks to come out, put a lot of time and effort into this. The fireworks themselves in particular, rain or shine event. This time of year, there's a chance of pop-up showers. Unless there's severe inclement weather, we'll plan to have the activities downtown as well. Should there be a reason to cancel all of that, and in particular the fireworks, we'll have the rain date for fireworks will be Saturday night the 3rd. Same time, same location, but it would just be the fireworks on the 3rd. So we encourage folks to come out and enjoy those activities. And again, thank all of those local businesses, the folks like the churches and Athletes in Action who are coming out and sponsoring these different activities. So we appreciate that. I want to take a minute to thank all of the folks who participated in the Citizens Academy this year. We had about a dozen who came out pretty regularly, which is great. They were a very engaged group. But at the same time, we want to remind folks that we take steps like Citizens Academy to be as transparent as possible. Not only on financial information on how their government works, but also to bring them up close and personal with services like fire, police, dispatch, public service, so they can understand the inner workings of city governance. So this is a program will continue in the future. Wanted to remind folks that the police division will be doing a police citizens academy late summer, early fall. Look for information on that. That's a great program that is even more hands-on than our administrative citizens academy, where they go through step-by-step how policing works in our community. So look online on Facebook and website for more information on that. Finally this evening, I do have a brief presentation that we have queued up. One of the charges that council has given me is to increase productivity and some higher expectations with our public service department. And so we've been working over the course of this year on through a task force on engaging our public service leadership and a lot of the individuals in the department to try to improve the productivity of the department, improve the overall performance. And one of the things that the group came back with that we agreed that we wanted to focus on were projects to improve Shawnee Park as one of our most visible public amenities and assets. And so this evening I wanted to give you a sampling of some of the work that they've been engaged in on top of the other things that they're normally doing. We've done projects like these walking bridges down at the park where you can see the before and then the after, where we have our staff has poured the head walls, we've resurfaced, repainted, working on seating down there as well, making not only a structural difference but a significant aesthetic difference as well. We've also got the area right by the bike trail where the historic rail bridge was, the culvert there. You can see a couple of befores here where it was significantly overgrown. The landscaping that had been there for some time was in desperate need of complete overhaul. And then on the after with this, we've got a couple shots where we've gone through and dramatically cleaned this. A couple points I want to make about this. One is we are evaluating options to beautify this. It was discovered that those plantings, the root intrusion is potentially compromising that historic culvert. And so we are probably not going to do a lot in the way of plantings with this in the interest of helping to sustain the longevity there. But we will be addressing things like the banks, and this is seeded right now. We'll do a few bushes and that sort of things through there. But again, you can see the dramatic difference that it's made aesthetically. Next, we've also done a lot of work on the northeast corner up off of Edison. There was significant overgrowth and a lot of problems with the hydrology of the waterway through there. As you see, this is a before, not a real good picture, I apologize, but the after is pretty dramatic. We've completely cleared that area. The staff in that process determined that there had been a compromise of that head wall, that there was a lot of drainage occurring behind it, so we've completely backfilled that, affected the hydrology to gear the water to funnel correctly. Staff has done an exceptional job here. We've extended the sidewalk and done not only structural work, but we'll be doing some aesthetic work as well. So this will improve the aesthetics as well as the accessibility. We're also looking at long-term putting some type of gateway sort of entry sign at this corner of the park. So again, the staff has done all this work in-house. Then little things, moving on, this electric panel down there with some screening that had been overgrown for probably 30 years. It's amazing what clearing the brush and a little bit of paint will do to improve the aesthetics of that. You'll see that theme through this, that we've just gone the extra mile, and staff has really adopted let's make it more functional and make it more aesthetically pleasing. All the donated benches have been power washed and stained and repainted. We have cleared the lower limbs. The folks from the tree committee came out, gave some tutorial on the staff on proper way to do it and how to improve those trees. So it will improve the lighting down there as well as the trees' health themselves. Here we've gone through the waterway. We've pulled the rock back, which improves the hydrology as well as an aesthetic improvement. We've power washed the fence down there. You can see it went from pretty mildewy to a gleaming white. A couple other just brief ones. The benches have been painted. We've done some concrete work where there's washout. And then we've installed for the season some festival lighting, and we're excited about what that's going to look like, particularly in the night of the fireworks event. So we're not done. We have other projects we're working on, but I'm extremely proud of the effort, the craftsmanship, the quality of the work, particularly concrete work that they've done at the park has been exceptional. So I want to acknowledge, accountability goes both ways. Where we're not meeting expectations, we offer some encouragement and some, and some redirection. Where we are meeting and exceeding expectations, I think where credit is due, it should be given. So I wanted to give a shout out to our public service staff for the exceptional work that they've done down there. And with that, I would entertain any questions this evening.
Thank you very much. Any questions for our city manager tonight? Other than thank you for the report and the extra work. Okay. Great.
This is time on getting this all done before the 2nd.
That was the goal.
Yep.
All right. Any other questions for Mr. Merriman tonight? All right. Thank you for your report. Moving on to reports for boards and commissions. There are no scheduled reports for tonight. We have no executive session scheduled tonight and no additional work session. At this time, it's council comments, and I will open up to Councilwoman Dean.
Only thing I have is I'm looking forward to celebrating my favorite holiday next weekend, 4th of July. Blow some stuff up and celebrate freedom.
Very good. Thank you. Anything else?
Oh, that's it.
All right. Thank you. Councilman Scrivens.
Oh, thank you, Mr. President. Just a number of things. I wanted to congratulate the people who run the 5 Points Cafe, one of the hometown restaurants that we have to support. And see, they received a grant from the bacon and egg growers. That's a nice place to get a grant from, seems to me. So congratulate them. We had a passing just in the past 2 weeks of a very prominent person. He was 99 and a half. Is Reverend Bishop Herman Honecker. And I knew Herman Honecker when I was an undergraduate student at Central State. And he was on the security force. And he was always supportive. And he always treated people like men and women instead of boys and girls. And that means something when you're making that transition during the college years. So we have to say goodbye to Bishop Herman Honecker. And he's left his widow, Miss Susie, so God bless her. So glad to hear Mr. Duke has survived his surgery, and hope he's not pushing the button too much.
In his advanced state of illness, I was able to visit him yesterday and take him lunch, and I think he'll survive.
I know his wife is going through something, because anytime a man is sick, I'm telling you, a wife catches it. So as Councilwoman Dean alluded to, I'm just chomping at the bit waiting on 4th of July and fireworks and everybody downtown and people getting back to normal and being Xenians. We had a year off for being Xenians, but now we can show the world who we are. And that is we're hospitable, and we want you to come and just enjoy yourself here. This is a wonderful place to live.
Yeah.
It's quiet 99.44% of the time. And it's a place to live, which is really nice. So we need to show our pride. And by doing that, I'm back to getting the weeds out the curbs and the sidewalks again. I'd like to speak to Mr. Berger about that. Going down Dayton Avenue today, I'm looking at how our roads are just being eroded by non-care. If we stop the weeds from growing, they won't break out the concrete, they won't break out the asphalt, but we won't break out the string trimmers to knock the weeds out. So, we're chasing our tail at some point. And I'd like to see that stopped, and I'd like to see us hire some summer students and equip them with string trimmers and put them to work beautifying this place. The Esplanade, I don't want to call it Esplanade, but right in front of the Chamber of Commerce, they have a little island there. You can't see the island for the weeds. And that's just one. Allison and 35, same deal. North Detroit and Ain't same deal. Let's tighten this game up here a little bit, and let's quit trying to fool ourselves. If you got landscape, it needs to be landscaped. Just like these flowers we planted out in the flower box. Somebody took the time to do that. Now, on one side of the street by the bike path, looks good. On the other side, it's neglected. So we just have to play both sides of the fence, and we've not been doing that. I'd like to know how we get the pole banner applications out. We've got some people who are chomping at the bit to buy pole banners. So I'll be speaking, I guess, with the city planner to see how the application process works, and we want to get those up and going with the next order. I understand there's some outdoor recreation funds available through a couple of these government programs, and if we have political will and a priority, maybe we can make a dent in some of this stuff that we got a backlog on, and you know what I'm speaking about. So, other than that, Mr. President, I'm looking forward to, like I said, getting back to being normal in Xenia, and that's just being hospitable, being who we are. So we kind of been held back for over a year. So now, let's let it all hang out. Let's, as young MC said a few years ago, let's bust a move. So thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. I'm sorry, you have another meeting. Do you want to speak and go?
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Sure.
So at this time, go ahead, Councilman Urschel, and I apologize, I forgot you had another.
No, that's fine. So first off, I want to commend our staff, and we were looking pretty hard into the Legacy Parks funds, and the way it was presented by the National Park Service and the League of Cities was that we would be able to do that. However, thank goodness Brian and the rest of the staff did some research, and unfortunately we're not
We're not in that SMS.
We're not in that, and they were able to find the specifics of that. And it was a good thing we found that before we put all the effort into putting the application. However, there are some smaller grants that are going to be available at a lesser time, has to do with the population size that we may be able to qualify for. And the application timeframe is into this fall instead of the summer. But I just want to give kudos to the staff, and I'm going to send a note to the National Parks folks to let us know that they gave us the bad information. So that's just one comment. Second is, hey, we got an election coming up this fall, and we got 4 seats that are open here for City Council. We got the mayor's seat and 3 other council seats, 2 for a 4-year term and 1 for a 2-year term. And I just encourage folks to take a hard look to see if you would like to put your name in the hat for that. We've had a number of years in the past where when it comes to election time, there either aren't even enough names on the list to even fill the number of vacant seats, or just the number of lists, number with the seats. And let me tell you, we need some competition. We need some good ideas coming out from folks. So I would encourage folks to consider that, think that over. And nobody owns any of those seats, and they're all wide open. I want to commend the law director. She put together a great package, which she's forwarded to the Board of Elections for Xenia to outline the petition process for the city of Xenia and the specifics that are different for us with that. And I encourage you, I know if you're just a regular citizen, you're not part of the Democrat Party or the Republican Party or anybody else has ever had to pull a petition or do those kind of things, it may seem very daunting. And I would encourage you to, if you want to consider that, to come talk to one of us on the council. We've all been through it, and we can help you with that. We can get you the packet from our law director, and it's very straightforward to be able to work on that. And so just want to encourage folks to think about that. Participation is the best thing we can have, and just like we talked about celebrating our freedom, right? One of the greatest freedoms we have is a freedom of petition, and we need not to take that lightly. So I just wanted to bring that up as well.
All right, thank you. Do you have anything else? Anyone have anything for Councilman Urschel?
Just one thing, Mr. President. Also, Mr. Merriman, we'd probably like to get a group photo of the administrative class that you had with the Citizens Academy. And when we have our next meeting, just group photo, so we can see who our people are that are actually making a move. They're actually doing something.
See what we can do.
Yeah, that'd be a good way to show our appreciation for what they've done. Thank you, Mr. President.
Sure. Yeah, and I just apologize, I'm stepping out. We've got, tonight, we've got a meeting that's been called by a number of the pastors of the city to talk about how the faith community can engage with folks who are in poverty or addiction or homelessness. And we have 75 churches in our city. There's 20 parachurch organizations that operate within our city. And so I just want to give kudos to Pastor Dan Jordan, who's organizing this. He's brought in a national director from an organization called Circles that I believe will help us start thinking about how do we do that engagement from our churches. And once again, we got, like I said, each of these churches have a great pool of folks with wisdom and life experience and an ability to come alongside other folks and share that if they're open to it. And we're just hoping tonight will be a great first step forward with that engagement. Pastor Martin, who prayed for us tonight, is going to be there. And my understanding, we're going to probably have about 10 pastors there as well as leaders of a number of the parachurch organizations. And I think this will be just a great first step forward. So with your permission, I'll go ahead and step out and join in that meeting as it's already started.
Thank you very much. And as Councilman Urschel did mention, keep in mind, it is an honor and a privilege as council members to serve our city. So certainly everyone is welcome to apply and pull a petition and run for council. And it certainly is, seems kind of daunting, but it's well rewarding. Thank you. At this time, Councilman Branham.
I did have a few questions it'll probably be most likely Brent. I had one individual that reached out to me, well, actually multiple, that within the whole scheme of paving, do we have any idea of a projection of when the paving companies will be in town?
Yeah, so I can give you a little bit of input. We have a couple different contractors, if you recall, because of the nature of the projects that we have this year. I think we're looking at some work that'll initiate the end of July. The rest will be the beginning of August. So it'll be probably about a month from now.
Okay. One other quick thing. I had an individual reach out to me. He actually stopped me as I was driving to discuss an electric pole right at the edge of basically where Central Middle School is in the football fields. And they've basically, one pole snapped off and the other pole's still there, and they basically took the pole that snapped off and kind of attached it to the other pole. And it does look really tacky, and I don't know if there's anything that we can reach out to our partners at DP&L or the cable providers, that kind of thing, to potentially see about getting that removed so it's kind of cleaner. They were kind of concerned about it following, I don't think that's going to be the case, but like,
Yeah, we can inquire. I don't know that we would have the authority to require any change, but we can certainly make a request. Yep, we can look into it. So just so I get it again, it was on Edison Ave?
it's like Edison and Monroe.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
I'll pull it up after the meeting and show you exactly where.
All right, thank you. Anyone have anything for Councilman Branham? Thank you very much. I apologize. I'm going to go back. Our administrative motion to approve the schedule of bills. Do we have a motion and a second on that? We did. Okay. Who made that motion?
Councilman Urschel, and then you seconded it.
Seconded by who?
You.
I did second that. Thank you. Okay. All right. Thank you very much. So, Vice President Dean, do you have anything else for tonight?
I don't have anything to add tonight, thank you.
All right, thank you very much. The mayor is not here tonight, so I will close this up. I'd like to thank those in the audience that are here tonight. I'd like to thank those that are watching. I'd like to wish everyone in our community a happy 4th of July. Remember that our festivities are scheduled for the first Friday in July, which falls on July 2nd. And again, those activities, start at 3 o'clock, run till around 8, and it moves to Shawnee Park between 8 and 10, with fireworks scheduled for 10. So also like to thank, he's not here now, but Councilman Urschel is doing a phenomenal job with volunteers from residents, people that are staying at Bridges of Hope. He is getting a crew out every Saturday morning. They're picking up bags and bags of trash in our community. I was able to join them once, and they work for about 4 or 5 hours, and they are volunteers, and if they receive anything, it's Councilman Urschel that's taking care of them. So I'd like to thank him publicly for all the work that he's doing with that as we try to transition a few of those folks back into the community. So if you see them out on a Saturday, and I believe they're doing Wednesday too, they're scheduled to clean up after the July 2nd event. So thank you very much for that. Take some pressure off public service. City Manager, thank you for the presentation tonight on the improvements made by our Public Service Department. And again, at this time, I thank everyone for watching, and I will ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Councilwoman Dean, and a second.
I'll second that.
Seconded by Councilman Branham. Before I forget, council members, I gave you tonight a little small packet of information for performance reviews for our appointed officials. If you could just put those in my mailbox or give to me at the July 8th meeting, that would certainly be appreciated. Okay, and at this time, a roll call, please.
Vice President Dean?
Aye.
Councilman Scrivens?
Aye.
Councilwoman Dean?
Aye.
Councilman Branham?
Aye.
President Smith?
Aye. Thank you very much.